we have a budget agreement. This agreement will protect our economy and reduces the deficit. The agreement isn't perfect by any means, but the alternative was a clean debt ceiling increase without any additional support for our troops and without any entitlement reforms. So this is a good deal for our troops, for our taxpayers, and for the American people. Somebody got a bipartisan agreement in a town that isn't known for a lot of bipartisanship, you're going to see bricks flying from those that don't like the fact that there's a bipartisan agreement.
Well, there you have it. Bipartisan peace, love, and cooperation breaking out in the nation's capital. And just when you thought it couldn't be done, the congressional GOP leadership and the White House have come to terms on a 2-year budget deal, a deal that will end the threat of another debt ceiling showdown until March of 2017. Additionally, the new budget, if approved by the Senate and the House, will lift the mandatory spending caps on defense and domestic spending imposed by the sequester while locking in cuts to Medicare and Social Security disability programs. Note disability. While congressional leadership on both sides of the aisle appeared satisfied with the deal, so too is the White House, which released the following statement. It's a responsible agreement that is paid for in a balanced way by ensuring that hedge funds and private equity firms pay the taxes they owe and by cutting billions in wasteful spending. So guys, simple question, is this a good deal for the American public or not? Joe Concha.
It's a surrender.
It's a surrender.
GOP. Yes.
Yeah.
Petrified of a government shutdown over a debt ceiling with the presidential election coming up, knowing what happened last time and how it turned off so many people. Even though they control the Senate and they control Congress, this was, in the eyes of many conservatives, a surrender. Is it a good or a bad deal?
Well, I will tell you that as I spoke to a number of far right-leaning conservatives coming in the door here at Newsmax today, they agree with you, very much so. But Brad, you know, there's a lot of things in this deal that Republicans wanted. They wanted that change in Social Security disability to get the people who were cheating. They did get some of the cuts that they wanted.
They did, and I don't think, I think it's a meh deal. It's not good, it's not bad. I think Paul Ryan is right. The process itself stinks, and it stinks for the reasons that Joe mentioned. This is about not what's good for the American public anymore. It's how each side can claim victory. Republicans get to say, you see, no shutdown, don't be angry at us, and the Democrats can say to the president, you see, you can do whatever you want because now you have economic security through the end of your term.
You know what, Heather, Brad brings up Paul Ryan and what he said today, which I thought was somewhat amazing because all he was really doing was kissing up to the ones all the way on the right, the Tea Party caucus. Because let's face it, he's the big winner. He doesn't have to have these problems until March of 2017.
Well, the thing that I think is interesting is it's a deal. That's part of a deal is compromise, and nobody's supposed to be happy. We always say that about settlements. If everybody walks away unhappy, it's a good settlement. Here, you had each side acquiescing somewhat, and I'm happy about the fact that our troops are getting more money, especially with all, we'll be talking about a little bit later about what's going on with our troops. So I understand the frustration, especially on the right. I think that that frustration has been seething for a long time, and that's why we see some of the people in the polls. But I think ultimately it's a deal.
Well, one of the people who's not so happy in the United States Congress is Republican Senator Jeff Sessions, who had this to say. I'm worried about how fast it's moving. I see no reason for that. Based on what I know now, it appears the president got whatever he wanted. Either way, the bottom line here is that government spending will be increased by $80 billion over a 2-year period, and that doesn't include a $32 billion overseas contingency fund, which allows the administration to cover the costs of wars they may get into. That brings the total spending increase to $112 billion over 2 years. Now, considering that the 2-year increase resulting from sequestration was only $63 billion, you wouldn't think that the deficit hawks are going to be very happy with this. And that leads to the question, what's going to happen now when this comes before the Congress? Can the Freedom Caucus, Heather, block this deal?
I don't think so. I think that there are enough people, enough Republicans who don't want government shutdown, who don't, as Joe said, don't want to deal with the politics of it, and enough of the hawks who are happy about the spending on the troops. I think that all of that is going to be enough to carry the day.
And Brad, there's something else going on here. The Democrats in the House are all going to vote for it because the White House supports it.
That's right. So this is going to go forward, and I think actually the Sessions made a terrible mistake. If you want to argue against it based on deficit spending, That's at least a principled position. When you simply rant and rave, the president got everything he wanted, so that's a bad thing. That's exactly what I think the public is tired of. Stop playing party politics with our money.
And
it's
yet,
just not appropriate.
And yet both sides seem to want to do it, Joe. You know, again, going back to Paul Ryan, who will likely be elected the next speaker tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow. He's already getting a pass from the Freedom Caucus. The very people he had to persuade to put him in there, the far-right wingers, they are saying, yeah, we believe him when he says that he thinks this is a terrible process. We don't think he would have done this if he was in charge. But the good news is, they won't have to find out until March of 2017.
It's funny. It reminds me of when the Iran hostages were released on the morning Reagan was sworn into office. This was like, we got the budget deal the day before Ryan takes over and said, hey, this is Boehner's legacy, not mine.
Right.
So you're right. He gets a free pass.
So why is he complaining, guys? This is the one thing I mean, just for
playing
show,
politics.
Just for show.
First of all, yeah, it's a big thank you note,
Absolutely.
and he wants to offer that up.
Yeah.
But I think here he actually does have a point. The process is lousy. It's not serving us well. He'll benefit from it, and that's fine or not. But
So in the short time we have left, as I mentioned, tomorrow will probably be the last day of John Boehner's term as Speaker of the House. Does anybody want to say goodbye to him? Anybody have any nice parting words for Speaker Boehner?
His short game is great, and he's an excellent putter.
Brad, it's getting close to Halloween, and he's orange, so that's probably good.
Man. I'll shed a tear over him.
Oh,
He
okay.
shed many
See,
tears.
Can I end on a better note than that?
Heather has a little class. I wish him nothing but good luck. So is this a good deal we've been talking about for the nation, or has the Congress given in and allowed the national debt to further spiral out of control? We want to know what you think, and you can tell us at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Coming up, is Bernie Sanders playing the gender card? Stay with us.